So this is a regular meeting of the Advisory Committee on Sustainability. Today is Wednesday. Sustainability. I literally just finished a meeting with Ed. I was afraid I wasn't going to get home in time, so I'm a little edgy right now. So today is Wednesday, February 16th. Yes, we have a quorum. I am calling the meeting to order at 12:35. This meeting is being held virtually only on the town's GoToMeeting platform as indicated on the agenda posted with the town clerk and on the town's website. So hello everyone, and we're going to get started. And Ed wasn't able to make the meeting, but Tony is here in Ed's stead, and he asked if we could discuss before we discuss item 7.1, I think it is. Right. Does anyone have anything to say before Tony reports on that?
We can let Tony go first.
Okay, great.
They're doing these They're doing these meditation minutes on NPR now. So, I mean, do we want to start with that to get you focused? And
that might be a good idea. Thank you, Craig. Hi, Tony.
Hello. So let me let you know where we stand. So, we met with those people last week. I got on the Energy Star portfolio manager and went through all the different accounts and found 10 or 12 things that were missing, mostly gas accounts, some electric accounts. So I've started to collect that information. I have almost all of it, waiting for some of the fire departments to get back to me. And we also have a list of things that should be removed, like the old senior center, some things at the a meter at the Norotan Heights train station, and at least one building that we're going to add, which is 701 Post Road, which is the EMS house, going kind of towards Trader Joe's, and then the solar. It looks like the solar activity is something similar to what the fuel oil would have been, is that we'll have to add that in, if we want to track that on the Energy Star portfolio manager, we have to add that in manually. It's not like these Eversource meters that once you get it registered in that program, it syncs up with it every billing cycle, and just puts the information in there. Anything fuel oil, which I don't think we're going to be doing because there's so little of it, and solar, you have to add in manually. So that's I'm just trying to work through that now.
Okay.
So we're getting close to having all the blanks filled. And then I did call, I forget her name, the woman that led the meeting from Yukon last week, and just filled her in with my progress and said, I told her I'd wait till I have it all done instead of sending her, a few at a time.
Right.
And then we've also, so there's that portion of it. And then there's the portion that has to be verified by a PE or a registered architect. So we have one firm that was on the Connecticut state website of kind of approved vendors or trusted vendors. They've engaged with us, and then the company that did the commissioning report for the police department, they're also say that they can do this. They seem a little less experienced in it, but regardless, I'm going to meet with them on Friday, review the buildings we have, the square feet, and try to get some. No one was able. I said, give me a gun to your head ballpark number, 10 buildings. You've done small towns similar to. And so no, we can't do that. I said, okay, I understand. So not sure how much, where we stand budget wise, but we'll get there once I give him some more information.
It's kind of a two-step process. The first part, you were talking about 7.1, just for everybody else, which is benchmark and track energy use. Seems like we got to get through that, because once we have all the data loaded on that, the program, I forgot what it's called, the Energy Star Tracker program, will tell you which buildings, seem like they would be able to be Energy Star rated.
Right, and then
So
that engineer has to verify that.
yeah, so then we can give them a short list, right? We're not giving them every account. We're saying it looks like these 8 buildings or these 4 buildings would be the best target, and so we need a proposal for those 4 buildings. But it's good that you're engaging them sooner or later to kind of tell them where they are in the process, and you get a comfort level with which consultant you might want to work with.
Yeah, and I believe that's all I have. It should, I'd say another few days we'll have everything filled out and sent over to you. And then I'm not exactly sure that Yukon group, are they entering in this stuff, like exactly what they're doing for us? I tried to enter in a meter. I don't know if it's going to sync up with Eversource. I don't know if I did it right. I just tried it today.
Yeah, I think once you give them all the addresses and all the account numbers, they could take it from there. And even if you acquire oil and solar data, you can give them, a spreadsheet and they can populate it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure the professionals at it. Yeah. That's what I was hoping.
Sounds good.
That's what the college interns and her students are very good at and are there to learn how to do. Right.
But you're the conduit for the information, right? You're the town point person that can get them what they need.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
I found that incredibly encouraging. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, it looks like we've got pretty rock solid points under 7 right now, which was a vulnerable category for us. So.
And I think, in beyond, I think it's really easy to get caught up in doing this for the points, but it sure sounds like doing this, maybe you need a little, we need a little push to get it done, is valuable information for the town to have, not just in light of this application, but for decisions next year or down the road or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I agree. I think the really the only way that it works is when you're synced up with Eversource, because to do manual entry, and there might be some of that with the solar, but to stick up on, keep going manual entry, that's when things tend to fall, go by the wayside. So a lot of it is already synced up.
Hopefully we have good data fidelity over like a number of years, because I would love to be able to see the impact of transitioning to natural gas in a number of our buildings over the years, how that has helped. Or I would love to be able to see how the efficiency improvements at the police station worked out, or I'd love to be able to see when we replaced a bunch of our sewer pumps with more efficient, variable speed pumps, like how that worked out. So anyway, it would be interesting to see how some of our past investments performed also.
Yes.
And would that not spend much time on this, but say you were going to replace all the windows at Town Hall or something, and then watched it over the next year, you'd have all the data leading up to that time to then look at the estimate or figure out the cost going forward. I mean, that may be a poor example, but
I think the best example is the street lights. When we switch the street lights over to LED, I mean, there's a clear change in our electric bill for street lights. There's not that much variability there. So that's a good example, and it's pretty satisfying when you look at it.
Great.
Thank you so much, Tony. Is there anything else, or does anyone have any questions for Tony?
Thank you, Tony.
Okay, so I'm going to sign off if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for joining us.
Everyone. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So, do you think we should put our application up? How do you guys want to approach this?
Well, I have a whole bunch of updates.
You've been busy, Craig. Yes.
And a couple of ideas and questions.
Okay.
I do too, relative to
Yeah.
just the first one. So it doesn't
Equity?
matter the order to me. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so
shoot.
the idea I had for equity today, because I'm working on it for other reasons, Highland Farm. One, we're trying to get points for kind of improving access to public parks, improving the ecological status of the parks with the landscaping plan up there. We've got the low impact development and the porous asphalt parking lots. But we also have a half-mile long, fully accessible trail. It's an ADA accessible trail. And so I thought that maybe, because that was built last year in 2021 on town property, that would be, could be a candidate for an optimized for equity, but you tell me.
I think building it is one thing. And again, I've been spending a lot of time staring at this one and reading over and over again. In answer to that particular question, if we built something with a particular group in mind, that the building it under Highland might be something that would get points as an action item somewhere. And then the equity toolkit would be
How do you
to
expand it to a group? Yeah. Okay.
apply it. So that might mean
So it's kind of action this year with something, kind of to expand something.
so maybe you would have weekly walks there with some group, or maybe you would have transportation there, or maybe I'm not quite sure what it would be. So we built it, it's there.
So maybe not the way I was thinking about it, but it sounds
can I just back up for a couple of minutes on the very beginning of this optimized for equity, because it has three parts to it. And I just want to make sure we kind of separate them. And the one that's absolutely mandatory required is 1.1 optimized for equity, which is what, Craig, I think you and I were just, kind of looking about, which says that, and the way they want you to do this is something that they suggest takes 3 to 5 months worth of work and study, and that then you apply what you learn to some of your actions. I don't think that that's 100% the way it will work for us. First off, the equity data report that Sustainable CT provided through Data Haven, and certainly all the information that they have in human services and social services, gives us a pretty good understanding of our community. And certainly ADA accessible stuff would be a community that we would want all our services to be available for. So there might be a way to do that. We could identify that, and access to this particular park might be part of it. If you had a playground that was built that way, you could do it that way. But I think if you go back to the equity thing in its big picture, without going through the 33-page report, we know that we have 7,000 households. We know that it's in our community, 87% home ownership, but we know that a third of our houses are house cost burdened. So you might go through the equity toolkit and say, okay, so a third of our homes house cost burden mean they spend 30% of their income or more on their housing costs. You go through looking at the median household income, which in this community is, in the Data Haven data, $232,000, but we have 4% of our population below the poverty rate. You start going, so you say, okay, we have a population that's below the poverty rate, and when we have an action, how does that work? Or we have 5% of our adults without health insurance. What can we do to make sure that healthy living things are there for them? It goes through, actually really interesting when you look at the population data, and this gets to race the equity, is Darien and the state of Connecticut has moved in terms of, we have less children and more adults. We have a larger percentage of non-white citizens in the community, and it goes through. So you'd go through all this and say, I want to make sure that I have more adults. I bet those are older people that are living in apartments, and we have senior housing. This is off of the 2020, the new census data that came out. So I think it gets back to everyone working on an action, knowing that there are populations that are underrepresented at the policy level, whether it's by housing, health insurance, age, racial background. I mean, we are now at a point where 16% of people in Darien are non-white. You know, so how are they represented in things that happen? So all of it boils down to when we take an action, maybe not the building and Energy Star stuff, but any of the other stuff, are we making sure that everybody in the community can equally benefit from it? And so the toolkit asks you to identify groups that could benefit more if given more access to services, or and for us, the other thing is driving. We have an interesting number of people who don't drive. I wrote that down somewhere. We have 171 families, or 3% of the people don't have cars. You know, so you can go through the report and find the things that people don't, you know, where those boys are, and then you'd be making sure that if you were hosting events, that everybody had access to them. I thought the idea of the food scrap recycling, when we sort of I raised it on the last call, maybe people who don't have cars can't go to the dump, can't use the program. What could we do for that? That was Cliff's thing with getting to the, for people that can't, maybe don't drive or can't get to the farmer's market for healthy food. So we made some availability of the swap shop the last time to people who didn't have dump stickers. So it's kind of picking out those pieces. And so I throw it back at everybody. Anything you're working on, is there a piece that we could expand the service to a broader range of people? And that you only need one for bronze certification, and it's 10 points. And that is required. We did 2 last year, but you need at least 1. And that's required. The second part of of the equity one is attending training. And I did write it down, and I would like to see if any of you with better contact at the administration. The requirement is to participate in equity training, and that's a cohort of 3, minimum 3, 1 elected official from the Board of Selectmen, the municipal branch, 1 higher level staff member, and 1 resident or sustainability committee member. So a minimum of those people to attend a training series that Sustainable CT does, and they're virtual. And you have to go to all of them. It's multiple hours, but it's over time. And you have to be able to just present that. That's 10 points. And then the other part of the equity is to support equity training for the Board of Ed employees, and the board members are elected officials, and submit the details of the training entity that did it. And I know there's been some work going on in the Board of Ed. That's 5 points. So again, I'm looking, you know, if I should just make the contact and find out what that equity training was that's just happening now or is happening that could qualify for points, or whether we'd want to approach the selectmen and see if we could get a group of 3 or more to participate in I think it's like 3 1-hour sessions or something like that over the course of the year. So we have to do the first. The second is optional. It's 10 to 15 points. And the third is an equity statement. And I can't imagine us developing an equity statement that the town would vote on if we didn't go through the first 2 first. So kind of just assuming, and I did change it on the thing, on the portal to 1.3 unplanned. And I don't know if y'all think that equity training is something we could make happen with our municipal employees. And optimize for equity. I'm just looking for volunteers on, you know,
Kathy,
or noodling ideas.
Are the trainings specific days and times, or is it the kind of thing where there's a series of trainings that you can do, you fit into your own schedule?
I don't know, and I don't even. I think they're like webinars that you would have to take, and if you have to watch them afterwards, you have to give them the list of the people and the dates that they've attended. You have to prove that they participated in the training.
Okay.
And the point is to sort of do it together. So I think the point is that if a Board of Selectmen person and a purchasing manager and you attended, then there'd be some sort of mutual understanding of sustainable CT's definition of equity. Not all going to relate to us. Just I read you some of our numbers. We don't fit the profile of Hartford or certain other communities, rural communities, but the principles are the same, right? That you're talking about. So they haven't listed the dates. I tried to find them as I was searching through this, but I can get that if someone wants to go forward to Monica and propose we fit that in. And you could say, no, we're not doing it. It's not, it's not a good use of our time, but I actually think it's worth a conversation.
So I have two comments on this. One is that the webinar that they did with respect to homelessness, they then posted on their website. And when I looked at it, I had to register to look at it. And Ali Ramsek has done the same thing. So they have the proof that we've participated in that particular seminar. I'm not sure if they'll do the same thing for these, but it wouldn't surprise me. Last year, I drove up to Wallingford or someplace for 3 of these sessions on equity training. And the drive up and back took as much time as the seminar, maybe even more. So being able to do it online is actually a burden lessener.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would certainly be willing to do it again if you need a body, but I mean, I've actually done it. So
sure. Well, if y'all, I can verify how those will be handled this year and how you would prove that you attended them. And then I can get that information back to the committee or via email or the next meeting and see if we could work that out based on the information they give us.
I would suggest that we not ask the first selectman to do this. I know she's just overwhelmed. She just addressed the Darien Men's Association. I mean, I think we'd have much better chance of getting one of the others to do it.
I'm not, it doesn't have to be her. I would think if you would want her to support it.
Was it specifically we needed a member of the Board of Selectmen or
it says
or
the
any
cohort
elected
is
official?
It says minimum 3, including 1 elected official, the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Governors as the municipal executive branch, plus 1 higher level municipal staff member at the management or director level, plus 1 resident on the sustainability committee. That's the minimum.
So that would be someone from the Board of Selectmen.
Okay. So you need 1 member of the Board of Selectmen, Monica, or any of the other 4, but you also need like Kate or her number 2 kind of thing to do it.
Yeah, it could. It might be Health and Human Services person too. I mean, I'm sure there's.
So if that's
any higher level,
target, right? She would probably a willing participant.
Yes.
But maybe the thing to do is start with the hard question first, which is we are looking for a member of the Board of Selectmen to do this training, and it's these days, these hours, this commitment online. Is there someone on the Board of Selectmen willing to do it? Similar with Ali or another director level position in government. And then that's the way I would work it out. I would make it a very specific request that the answer to the question with all the information is either yes or no. And then we know.
Okay.
And I'll defer to Carolyn here. I'm getting I'm talking too much, but
no, you're not.
I've always said, act with the full backing of the advisory committee. Don't wait 4 weeks to ask us another question. Be your own bulldog if you want to try to get points here.
Okay.
Kathy, is it their equity training only that counts? I'm thinking about all the stuff that the Board of Ed is doing, and they're putting a lot of money into this kind of thing right now.
That's a separate category. That is a 5-point category, which says support equity training for Board of Ed employees and or board members and elected officials. It is quite possible that some of the work that is being done in the Board of Ed would qualify because the way you submit for points is submit the details of the training entity that performed the training and when it was. So I know there has been training for employees, and I don't believe it's been for the Board of Ed members, but I think that's an or as opposed to an and. So that is a possibility for 5 points, and that would be one of digging out whether it would qualify. That's separate from asking our executive branch if they'd be interested in participating in this. And then
So
the
again,
third one is,
to me, that's a specific question
yes,
to the superintendent to say, this is what we're trying to do. If this happens to have aligned with what you are doing, it would be great for us to
understand it.
get recognition for that.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. We're not going anywhere with an equity statement at that point. That's, I think, beyond what we would be working on. I'm going to continue to ask, as far as the optimizing for equity, doing one would be 10 points, and I changed the portal to say planned 1, 10 points. The second one, I'll put planned and we'll see. And the third one, I'll make it as unplanned, statement of equity. And as far as the equity consultant, I'm hoping to speak to her. We've had a hard time with calendars on Tuesday by phone, and I will let anybody know once I know that if they want to join. I think it's by phone or Zoom. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it, but she's been very busy because she's being asked by other towns to work. She hasn't had any time for us.
Yeah, Kathy, just getting back to the equity training and making the request of the Board of Selectmen, I think it would be important to know if these are specific days and times that they have to be present to attend the webinar, or if, like Cliff suggested with the one that he did, where it's recorded and you can log in and they have a record of you logging in. I think, we're probably more likely to get participation if it's the latter, but it would be helpful to know before we approach them.
And the way it read was they would be scheduled for this year and check back. And I don't see them, so I will have to ask a question. So as far as I know, they are not scheduled.
Okay.
Yes, but as soon as I know anything, we can certainly push that forward. And with this feedback, I will press Sustainable CT in order to be able to ask in our own time.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. I didn't want to ask them if we had no interest in it. Let's put it that way.
I mean, my experience with them is that, they try to bend over backwards to accommodate people. So, if someone has to attend something, from 1 to 3 on a Wednesday, as opposed to being able to log in, it seems like if it's possible for people to log in and watch something when it's more convenient for them, it seems like they would be willing to make that possible. So I hope that they do.
I understand that. I also think that if it's a matter of being part of a webinar and there's any back and forth in that webinar,
Yeah.
it may be that this is meant to be an interactive event. So I do not know the answer, Carolyn, and I will get an answer. I do know I went to the training in person as well, and it was very interactive. There were speakers, but there were questions and there was dialogue. So I don't know that it's a lecture on equity. I think it's a conversation about the things your town can do and how you identify places where there may be room to improve distribution of your services to all of your people. So I don't know. I will find out. I'm done. We don't need to spend any more time, but I did not want to pursue this unless I hear you, Craig. Just go for it once you have sort of guidance. But I didn't want to even pursue it if we felt this was not worth the time to pursue it. I will pursue it right away.
I think that this is actually very topical in Darien at the moment because of all the controversy around it at the high school, not the high school, but the whole Board of Ed. And I think that, I know in my experience doing it last year, so much of it was stuff that I've already been exposed to that it didn't really do much for me. But I am convinced there are people in our government on the first selectmen and on the committee, the Board of Selectmen, who haven't had much exposure to this stuff. And it would be very useful if they did.
Yeah, it's a way of thinking and viewing ideas and policies. So I will pursue it. I will find out what the details for 1.2 are, and I will get more information on 1.1 from the coach with any of you that wish to join once I have a time, and hopefully this one is then taken care of.
Great.
Remember, this is not just a point game. There's good encouragement behind the point game.
Right, which is why this is it's a point game, but it is also important. But I also think if there is a slight amount of sensitivity on this discussion, that I'm making sure that I understand when I go forward that we all know why we're doing this. You know, that we know and that they know why we're asking.
Great.
Okay.
So were we done on this particular? Okay.
Yep, that's one.
Great. Do you want to go back to you?
I would
You
love
were
to.
okay.
I
Great.
have to jump off at 1:30
Okay.
for another meeting, so it would be great to get my
Okay.
stuff out of the way. I've been generally using just in the near term the spreadsheet to continue to track my notes. So I'm just going to turn it up here because that's where it'll help me remember what to talk about. But I have found, I think, a trove of points under Section 11, Healthy, Efficient, and Diverse Housing.
Mm-hmm.
I am confident. I'm confident we're going to get 20 points under 11.3 because we have an inclusionary zoning regulation that requires 14% of all housing developments to be affordable. I am confident we should get 2 categories of points under here. Well, so I'm confident on one of them and maybe on the other. Actually confident on both. So one, when the new housing appeals list is published in February later this month, it will have shown a growth of the number of affordable units in town by at least 0.25%, given the opening of the Royal. And since we have grown our affordable housing stock by 0.25%, we are eligible for 10 points. We should also get 10 points for the allocation of monies to support the development of affordable housing, because we had about $300,000 in an affordable housing trust fund that we gave to the Darien Housing Authority to help with the development of the Royal. So that should get us another 10 points. Under 11.1, the town has hired a consultant to develop an affordable housing plan to comply with the state mandate. This is through Jeremy Ginsburg. The consultant is actually Dave Keating, who recently retired from the zoning office and now has been rehired as a consultant to prepare this affordable housing plan. That should get us the 10 and 25 points, and it's due to be complete in June. So I've given them the worksheets that would be helpful for them to fill out, and I'll be tracking that over time. And then I don't know what that +5 was that I wrote. But anyway, I think there might be, that's just distributing the report once you have it. So there's up to 80 points that I'm tracking under 11. I've talked to Darren under 9.1. We didn't get points here last time. This is about just tracking and reporting MSW. We didn't get it because we have so many private haulers and we have no idea how much they're picking up. But he's going to write a letter to all of our private haulers to see if they can estimate it, and we'll try again to get points under this category.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there's a Sustainable CT provided a formula for estimating it, because it might not all be picked up in Darien, and we
Yes.
didn't have that before, I think, right? The last time.
That's correct.
Yeah, so it should be a little bit. We should have a higher chance of getting points here this time.
So I'm trying to work with Darren on that.
Great, thank you.
Tony talked about these two, the benchmarking and tracking energy use and potential for Energy Star ratings of our buildings. Under that category, there's the question of solar, and Kathy, this relates to an email that you had sent me on a program called Smart Sol. I'm sorry, that's 5.6. And Jeremy's initial reaction was he's already turning around solar applications in 1 to 2 days, so he didn't see the necessity of going through a consulting process to make that better. So we're already doing the good, why case after the points, so that would be a points only kind of thing. So his initial reaction was unnecessary. Might be necessary to get the points, but it's unnecessary to affect change. On low impact development, we're trying to get points for the installation of the porous asphalt parking lots at Highland Farm. And I'm working with Pam on that. We have to put a sign up. And so I'm working with Pam to design that sign. We have approval from Kate to purchase it, and Pam is on board. I had 5 plus 5 there. I don't know what the other 5 is. My notes aren't very good, apparently. Under develop open space plan, we should get credit for purchasing a house on Crimins Road in the floodplain, knocking it down and turning it into open space through a FEMA grant. That has not happened yet, but I'm tracking that with Mark McEwen, who is managing that program for the town. That would be 10 points. And we should get points for the landscaping going in at Highland Farm, because that's an improvement, not in the normal course of business. We might be able to double dip on 27 Crimins purchase, because it is, it's in a floodplain, and that's why we're purchasing it and knocking it down and turning it into open space. I think, is that the end of my, I think that's the end of my update.
That's a lot. Thank you for all your hard work.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Hopefully I'll get us halfway there.
Do we, I know you, I saw the email, but could you just remind me about Crimins Road? I mean, I know it was approved by the RTM. Is it just a question of the FEMA grant? It's in the process of being approved?
Yes. It's just
Okay.
moving slowly, because you have to dot all the I's and cross all the T's with FEMA and the town and the property owner.
Right.
And they all have to align, and monies have to be transferred, sale has to happen, et cetera, et cetera. But if it all happens, it's all good. There's requirements in the grant that say that the structure must come down and the property is held as
And
open.
it has to stay open space. It's required. So that's all really good. Anything else from you, Craig?
I think that, well, you know what?
I think that's a lot.
Anything else, Craig? I think that is it. I mean, I for one think it would be really cool if we had 80 points in the housing category.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
Well, that might get our hopes up that we might be going for silver, but I don't think we're quite there. But yeah, it's all good. And I mean, the other thing that we have to remember too is that it's I mean, we're like talking points because we want to get this, we want to be certified, but this application is also, we have to remember that this is sort of a portal to the outside world. Anybody can look at our application, you know, once it's approved and go online. And this is like a picture. It's like we want to create as holistic as possible a picture of Darien. So all the things that we're doing there, you know, even if they don't bump us up to the next level, it's good for people to know that we're doing these things. So yeah. Anyone else have anything? Cliff?
Yeah, I have been working with Allie, and we're making good progress on this homeless thing. Every once in a while, it feels as though Sustainable CT is throwing up another requirement to get a paltry number of points, but in fact, they're not. And I expect that she and I are going to have a conference call that will qualify us for some points. That's moving along. I'm fairly optimistic about that.
Great. Great. Kathy, are you still there? You're muted. Kathy, leave us. Okay. Christine, anything in your area to report?
All right, let me turn my mic back on. So I've been in touch with the Darien historian working on 5.5. I've been in touch with the Chamber of Commerce working on 2.3 and 2.1. I've got an email into the Visit CT website lady to update that. I am working with the Art Center on the map and tourism cultural. I've got my list. I'm going through it.
Great. Great.
I almost finished the meeting minutes from last week. Sorry, it's been a very busy week, but I'm working on that. It should be done soon.
Good. Craig, last time you had brought up the fact that what was approved on our last application is still there, and we either have to leave it there and update it or delete it. At what point do you think we should start putting stuff in? Because I have some stuff as well. At what point should we start putting things into the application?
I loaded up the information under 11.3 already.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's there. And I think if you have a task item that, you know, you're overwriting previous information, it's easy enough to kind of just adjust it as you go and add it as you go. But maybe we need a collective meeting towards May, you know, to decide what we're going to pull out.
Yeah, so I have a question about that. It was May the last time, but Cliff, the meeting that you attended on, I think it was January 20th, the application meeting, didn't they talked about the fact that there's now 2 deadlines. So there's the April deadline and there's the August deadline. And it sounded to me, whereas previously we had a May deadline for the draft application, it sounds like they want anything that we have done submitted by the earlier deadline, which is April. Am I paraphrasing that correctly? You're muted.
I think they want things as soon as they can get it so that they don't have to get sort of everything at once. But my impression is that we're not required to. I think the deadline is later. I think it's the August one.
Yeah, it is August, and that's what we're aiming for. But last time we had 2 deadlines. So we had a deadline when our draft application was due, which was in May, and then our full application was, and that gave them a chance to go through and comment, and and then our full application was due in August. But I got the sense from this meeting that they wanted it in April this time. Maybe I can clarify that with them.
I think part of it is they're allowing people that are ready to be certified in April to be certified in April.
Yes. Yeah, they have 2 deadlines now.
So
Whereas before it was the 1.
Mm-hmm. What we provide versus the people that have a hard stop in April are probably, two different.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm trying to ascertain when the deadline, if there is a deadline for our draft application, because the last time it was May. So
why don't Carolyn, what if I put this on the list with asking about the equity training
that would be
sessions?
great, Kathy. Thank you so much. That would be great. So we have a couple more minutes. And Cliff, were you finished or did you have anything else?
That's really the only thing that's changed since our last meeting.
Okay, and Dan, anything to report?
I talked to the lady in the state, and we're going to be discussing the Brooks Brothers building and the building in the back. And I'm also talking to some other construction people to see if they're putting anything up that could help us reduce our electrical bills or other types of bills.
Yeah, Dan's talking about action item, I think it's 2.8. It's the 2.6, the C page.
2.6, yes.
Yeah. So do we think that there's, from what the information that we've passed on to the Green Bank, do we feel pretty secure that two loans will come out of that, because that's what
I think one looks good. I'm working with the architect right now on the other, so I won't know for another at least 3 weeks to a month.
Okay. I mean, do you think
we'll have two?
Do you think there's any point in having the representatives from the Green Bank meet with the chamber members? Or do you think we should hold off on that?
No, I think that's a good idea. I think we should do that.
Okay, so I'll see if I can get them to set that up.
That's a good idea. Bring her on down, and then in the meantime, we can discuss it with her, because we're putting the detail together for her right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would probably be a webinar. I don't think she would physically come here, but because I think she's in Hartford, Christine, but I think it would be conducted more as a webinar, because I know that's what they've done previously.
Yeah.
So there's that.
But she did say that we can qualify for the two if we can put it all together. So we'll see.
Oh, she did say that.
Yes,
okay, that's good,
yes.
because that would get us up to 10 points.
After discussing it with her, she said that if we can get all the detail and all the information, we would probably be able to be part of it.
Great. Yeah, so just keep us updated about that. Kathy, do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about, or
no, I sent a note off on the EV. Craig had given me some information relative to the buses, which is, I think, longer term, but just to see if there's anything that's in this year's.
Oh, when the contract is up, that type.
Yeah,
okay, right.
And anybody looking at that, and I don't know that that's going to affect this application, but it's another place we're looking at. Okay. Nothing else to report today.
Have anything?
One more thing, Carol. I think you and I offline should talk to David Genovese, because I think we may be able to do something with him on some of the projects. So I think that the three of us should, I'll give him a call and see if we can set up some type of meeting with him.
That would be great, Dan. Thanks so much. Yeah, no, I mean, the more the better. I mean, we only need 2, I think, to get our point count up, but it's like we're not doing it just for the points. We're doing it.
She did say new buildings, we can sneak in under new buildings. So there must be something that David's doing that we can put together.
Agreed. I don't know to the degree that he understands broadly the sustainable CT certification itself beyond the buildings. And he's a smart guy, that there may be something in his workings with his buildings or with community organizations that would slot in somewhere. So I would, there's the building piece, but there's also who he works with in the community. To be interesting to.
That's a good idea.
Yes. Yeah, because he knows a lot of people.
He knows a lot of people, absolutely. So I think we should have that meeting, the three of us.
And in reality, because you get into the stuff, and I know, Christine's looked at him about, promoting local retail and things of that nature. Again, that's changing in this community a lot. So where those things might overlap, I don't know. And what he's doing and what the town could do to help, and where they're already partnering. There's certainly the energy side, but I think there may be the more cultural, educational promotion of the businesses, because in sustainable CT, those thriving local economies is more, is a whole category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, Dan, if you could.
Craig, you may want to join us on that also, Craig. Knowing a lot of the information that you have. No, he's not.
Let me know.
I just stated you may want to join us on that meeting.
Yeah, well, let me know when it is. We'll see what I can do.
Great, thanks, Dan. Cliff, I just wanted to tell you have your name next to 3.12 enhanced pollinator pathways on the Google Sheets. I just, in talking to the chairman of the Beautification Commission on other things happen to get a lot of information that can go in this category, which I can either forward to you or I can put it into the application myself. It's up to you.
I guess it depends upon what you've got. I mean, if it'll make it, if you have something that I can build on and if I can do some of the work, then it makes sense to give it to me and I'll put it on. If you're doing all the work and then handing it to me so that I can put it on, that doesn't make any sense. You might as well just put it on yourself.
Okay, well, why don't I can give you a call and we can talk about it and figure
Okay.
out what makes more sense.
Sure.
So we're just coming up. We've got a couple more minutes. Does anyone else have anything, or should we adjourn?
I'm gonna jump off now to get ready for my next meeting. It was nice seeing everybody.
Thank you so much, Craig, and we'll see you at our next regularly scheduled meeting. I think we should probably spend half of it talking about the application. So we'll maybe see you at that meeting.
Okay. Well, I'll look for the email. I'll look for the email.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Okay, well then, 1:25, we are adjourning. I'm going to turn off the recording. Thank you.
Oh, Carolyn,